Welcome to my Wellness Rewired, Hacking Women's Health. Join Larissa and Malerie as they explore biohacking tips for women based on the latest science and research available today. Let them help you unlock your best self. It's time to hack smarter, not harder, together.
Okay, hello. We are so excited because today we are going to be talking about intermittent fasting. And this is something that both of us have done for years. And really, I feel like it's where our journey started, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to talk about, we're going to break this into a 3-part series because this is going to be a fire hose of information. We're going to try to just keep it everyday gals having a chat about this amazing thing that has worked for us. And so we're going to talk about the basics of what it is, how we found intermittent fasting, and kind of our journey on getting just to a place where we feel better, honestly. Like that was a huge thing for both of us. And then we're going to talk about all the benefits. There's so much information coming out on this. It's crazy. And then we'll also talk about a couple questions from the community and our tips from hard-earned experience over the years on the best ways to incorporate this into your current protocols. So to start off with, let's see, intermittent fasting. I mean, it's such a big thing. Like, how do you even explain it?
It's amazing.
And done. Episode over.
I know, right? And there you go. I feel like there's a lot of hype around it out there, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And so there's a lot of versions. So when I started, I thought I was doing it, and then I wasn't doing it. And so then you didn't see any results. And so then I'm like, I don't understand what everybody's talking about. I don't feel successful. I think it's very hard not to eat. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then I think actually, did you tell me about Delay Don't Deny?
I think I did because
I think you started it, and then I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so then I started. Once I read that, then I was like, oh, this is easy. Oh,
I've got it right here.
There's the book
by Jen Stevens, the book Delay Don't Deny. This was an awesome read.
Yeah. She's a teacher, and maybe that's why I like her, because I'm also a teacher, so I feel like that's a win. But no, I liked how she just laid it out in a very simple way, and it gave you the tools and the research behind it to understand the different processes that happen when you intermittent fast.
Yeah.
But it is it's a great book, and I like that there is so many different ways to fast.
Yeah, let's start there. Okay, so intermittent fasting is the concept. It's like the concept of time restricted eating. So like I always heard of people like, you'd meet, like I met this old lady who lived in my neighborhood. I called her old because I was like 12 at the time. Okay, so don't judge.
Probably 30.
She was old to me at the time. Okay, but she was like the strongest, like most active grandmother I had ever met. And her rule was that she never ate after 6 p.m. And so that was the first time I ever think but then it was always just like this crazy thing that this lady did, right? But clearly it worked because she was in her 70s and like out there gardening and doing like living so independently and doing all these things. And you would never know how old she was. Like it was crazy.
Well, and there's so much science behind that to not eat after 6.
Yeah. Yes. So that is the idea behind intermittent fasting, is that it's not about really necessarily controlling what you eat, it's controlling when you eat. And so by doing so, the concept is that you eat in specific eating windows and then you fast, like you just don't eat for the rest of the time. And what it does is it gives your body the opportunity to turn its attention from constantly digesting food every few hours to doing other things in your body, which can contribute greatly to weight loss, younger looking skin, right? There's so many benefits. Like you get into the concept of autophagy, which is where your body basically reuses and recycles old and damaged cells in your body. It doesn't have time to do that kind of stuff when you're eating all the time, right?
And one of the key things it does, which I feel like it's been a game changer, is it really helps you stabilize your insulin, because a lot of things that we do, because when you're feeding yourself every 2 hours, 3 hours, your body is constantly trying to process it and your insulin, because it spikes your insulin every time you eat. Yeah. And so it's constantly trying to get that under control. And so when you fast and you don't eat for a period of time, it gives your body that time to rest and recover, and it balances out your insulin so it's prepared for your next eating window.
Yep. Yeah, like it combats insulin resistance, which is a very big problem in our country right now, right? So
and anybody
I do love that.
pre-diabetic, like this is a
Yep.
great tool to help you not become diabetic, right? So it's a great tool to help you really recenter yourself and your insulin in a healthy way.
So that is actually how I found intermittent fasting, funnily enough. Is I was feeling terrible after I had my second kid. I was 30 and I was having terrible inflammation. All my blood work for my annual physical was starting to look rough, like heading in the direction of type 2 diabetes. And my doc, I mentioned that I had read an article that said something like intermittent fasting helped with weight loss and with insulin resistance. And I asked my doctor, and she recommended that I read The Obesity Code. So that was the first book that I
Oh,
read.
what is that, like Jason Fung?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That's Jason Fung, Dr. Jason Fung's book. Phenomenal read. And it helped make so many things make sense. And then the next book I read was Delay, Don't Deny. And I was like, oh my gosh, this makes it so easy to just follow this concept that was just the tipping off point to my life completely changing, And I think I started because the idea is that there's different protocols that you can do in intermittent fasting. And the most common being like a 16-8 concept where you eat for 8 hours and don't for 16. But there's so many different protocols. There's like a 24, there's an 18-6, there's
19.5.
19.5. I did that one a lot, actually.
I know, that was my favorite. That's why I said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I either did 18.6 or 19.5 because that felt great, but it has changed over time. I don't fast that long anymore. So we can talk about that probably on the next episode because that gets a little more into the nuances of fasting.
Yeah.
But Delay, Don't Deny was such an amazing tip-off point because it was the concept of you're not denying yourself anything, right? You're just delaying when you have it. And naturally, not only does all the health benefits, but you just naturally eat less, which does help with weight loss, right? And so,
and it resets your rhythms, and it recenters your body, and it makes you aware of. I feel like food tastes so much differently with fasting. I feel like that, like your senses when am I really hungry or am I bored eating? When you're eating all the time, it's almost like habit. Whereas when you aren't eating all the time and you really stay within your window, then you ask yourself a lot, am I really hungry? And a lot of the times it's a no, I'm not really hungry. I'm just bored or I'm dehydrated.
Right. In our case, it's always because we're dehydrated, but
yeah.
And bored too, probably, I'm sure.
That has not changed, no matter.
I know. Oh, no matter what we do, I'm going to drink some water because
I need a server to come and just refill my glass every single time because I love drinking water. I don't drink, so I don't drink all the other stuff. So when I do drink stuff, it is water. I just need to drink a lot more of it.
It's hard, man. We're going to say this every time, every week until we freaking figure it out.
But when I started intermittent fasting, I had done boot camp religiously for, I want to say 5 years. So I lost my baby weight. I'd lost 30.
And that was weightlifting, exercise class, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I had lost 30 pounds from that. And I was at that plateau where I just I wasn't losing anymore, but I was feeling strong. I was feeling good as far as that goes, muscle wise.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get down to that next bump to go down to the next level. And so when I started fasting, I never do things slow and easy. Well, actually, the older I get, I probably do it more now. But when I was younger, I definitely jumped right in. So I jumped right into 20 hours of fasting, hour eating window. And it was great.
I can't remember that. I feel like were you at my house?
I jumped. Yeah, I probably was. I jumped right in and I went straight for it, which was probably very much me. And anybody who I work with probably feels that exactly how I run. I do things. I dive right in. The older I get, I'm more of a reserve. I don't want to do all the work and have you change on me. So let's do it all a little bit slower. But it's funny. That is I'm definitely a dive in type person. So I went to 24 and I loved it. Well, let me rephrase that. When I initially started, I was doing what I was just researching, but after reading Jen Stevenson's book, and then she came out with Fast, Feast, Repeat. And I love that because she had the 28-day start, which was even simpler than the Delay, Don't Deny, because then she had a quick start and it was very easy for the beginner to use and do. And then she's the one who introduced me to a clean fast, where when you're fasting window, you can have
Right.
water, you can have coffee with nothing else, like no creamers, no nothing. And
Black
I had
coffee.
just done keto, so when people had, I mean, like, I'm not a really big coffee person, but like when I had other things, like you could have creamer and all that kind of stuff in there. And when you're clean fasting during that time, like you can't have anything in your coffee. So the
Yep.
bitterness, like, really helped me to not get hungry.
It does help. And you know
So
what? When you're not eating, it actually tastes good. Like it doesn't even taste that bitter. It tastes almost like a dark
good.
chocolate, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like you just have such a wider scope of taste that is appealing.
Yeah, so I was like, "Ooh," so that was nice because that led into that, and then that also got me into, I was drinking flavored, sparkling water, and I thought I
Mm,
was doing great, and then after that
yep.
book, I realized that that's not clean fasting because anytime if it tastes or smells like food, it's gonna ignite your body to, "Oh, you are going to get food right now. Let's get your insulin pumping to
Yep.
process it." So, that was another thing that I was fasting wrong, and so then that's why I wasn't able to fast when I very first started. So that was nice to do a clean fast because once you really do it, it's much easier. It's
Yeah.
much, much easier to do a clean fast. So, like, I had to get rid of just basic, you actually told me that Perrier, remember that? We had this whole discussion
Yep.
about Perrier water, and because it had minerals in it, and
This one.
now yeah. And now it's like all you have to do is have your sea salt. So now you can just do your sea salt, which has the minerals in regular water. But if you like
Oh
the
yeah.
bubbly water, which I do love, then you can get that too.
So the bubbly water, the sparkling water really helps on longer fasts, which is what we're doing right now.
Mm.
Because
Yeah,
I'm at almost 26 hours, right? Yeah. Yep. Let me just do math in my head. Hang on a second.
I'm 11 minutes away from my 24-hour
Yeah,
mark.
which is exciting as we dive further into intermittent fasting. We are going to do, and if you've listened to our past episode about the comfort crisis, right? We are doing our annual misogi. This is what we're calling it, and we're
Yeah.
going to do a 72-hour water fast. So we've never done this before, so this is going to be a big deal,
And neither one of us have been fasting recently because
right?
of life and
We're
busy.
lazy. I mean, life.
And traveling and, and
Yeah,
weddings and all sorts of stuff. So it's funny how, like, we're not prepped for this because usually when you're on a regular fasting schedule, a longer fast isn't that much harder to do.
it's
But
not.
because we have been horrible lately with our fasting, and we're like, well, let's do this because we have a 50-50 chance if we're going to succeed or if we're going to fail.
Yep. When I'm making 2-year-olds chicken nuggets and French fries, it's really hard to not eat one of those French fries. I'll tell you that.
Well, it's really funny because when we were planning to do fasting, and it's such a big deal, and it's been such a big part of our lives,
Yep.
we're going to do a series of 3. And then Mallory's like, yeah, let's do a 3-day fast. I'm like, oh, I tried that a year ago.
Yeah, you did try to do that.
I failed after day 2. Brad went all the way to 3 days. I failed after day 2. And I just didn't have the mental fortitude to like stick with it. And this time I
Yeah.
said that to you. I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to go 3 days, but maybe,
Yep.
maybe 2 days like I did before. And then
Right.
you said it could be our misogi. And I was like, and then as soon as you said that, it clicked in my brain. I'm like, I can do hard
Yep.
things. I was like, it is not going to kill me, and it's going to reset my body, and then it's going to go into cellular production and help boost
Yep.
all my
Autophagy.
yeah. I'm going to get autophagy.
Yep.
I'm going to start reworking my body, and then what is the body recomposition? I'm going to do my
Yep.
body recomposition because that's another thing in the fasting. They say that if you if you're not losing weight right away, to just give it time because you
Yep.
could just be, burning up your visceral fat, which is the fat around your organs,
Yeah,
and
the
not your
internal
cellular.
fat. That's
Yeah,
true.
not your
And the
cellular.
process of losing weight is so complicated that like you really do just have to give it time, which can be frustrating. But and we'll go into the more complicated, longer fasts later. We want to just talk about the basics today, but just so you guys know, we're doing this and we're excited that you guys are all going to be on this journey with us. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's going to be fun. So right now we're about 24, 26 hours in,
How do
and
you feel right now?
not bad. It was today. I really feel like the first day is probably the hardest day because we haven't been fasting. And
Yeah.
so all day today, like feeding kids, and you have your usual habits, um, And so it's been a challenge today for me. What about you?
I have been keeping myself super busy.
Yep.
I'm not in the kitchen. And then I got like lazy dog TV meals for my kids. So I'm not even cooking. Like I literally am not
Yep.
going to cook for the next 3 days because I was like, I don't want to even, I don't want to be around it. So it's
Yeah.
been
Yep.
really easy for me because I have not been around it. I've been keeping myself busy and doing stuff.
That's nice. I've done easy foods, but I still have to, feed multiple children multiple times a day because they're still very young. And
Yeah.
so, but I feel like I've built up some muscle for that sort of resisting that sort of temptation just because I have been intermittent fasting for, gosh, I think I discovered it back in 2018 is when I first
Yeah.
did.
You've been doing it a long time.
Yeah, in one form or another, right? And so when I first started, it was just I think I started with like 12 hours. It really at the beginning, I honestly this is kind of funny to say, but like I really felt like if you didn't eat every few hours, you could die. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't even think that's possible because I did struggle as a child with
Mhm.
hypoglycemia, right? And so the rule of thumb is snack regularly, keep your
Yeah.
blood sugar level, have if you're gonna have something sweet, follow it with something with some protein, right, to
Mhm.
balance your which is like not exactly accurate when you the more you learn about nutrition, but
Yeah.
like that's what I learned back then as a a kid. But anyway, so when I learned about this, I was like, this can't be real, which is why I went to my doctor and I was like, I'm not gonna die if I do this right. And then a little did I know the journey that I would go on, but reading the obesity code was interesting because the protocol that he usually puts his patients on. And back when I read this book, like he had been helping people reverse type 2 diabetes through fasting for decades at this
Yeah.
point.
There's a lot of research
And
behind it.
yes, and
Yeah.
what he had done, what the protocol that he recommended was like 24-hour fasts a week. So it was the concept of a 5-2 protocol, which is eat regularly for 5 days of a week and don't eat for two. And he's like, you're perfectly fine to do a 24-hour fast. And I should have known because growing up religiously, like our Christian group would have a monthly fast, right? Where the whole congregation would fast for 24 hours. I just never did the 24-hour fast. So
There's a lot, like, throughout history, there's a lot of religious groups that do it, and because it is
yeah.
so good for your body and for your mind and for
Yep.
clarity and for health, like, there is so many good things behind fasting that the people have done it for thousands of years.
It's so true. And it can also be such a spiritual thing, which is what I
Mhm.
grew up with it being, right? Is because you were intentionally abstaining, delaying all of these things to really focus all of your intention on a specific goal or prayer or whatever, right? And so it was very interesting to hear about it in the context of health outside of religion. But the
Mhm.
studies show, and time has tested and shown how much it has made a big difference. Because I know that I think Dr. Fung's patients all lost like 90 to 100 pounds where they were reversing, severe obesity and all of the side effects in type 2 diabetes. And they never needed skin surgery. Like they didn't have the
Yeah,
loose skin that needed to be surgically removed because fasting and the process of autophagy also helped with that, which was like mind blowing to me because I had grown up watching did you ever watch that show Extreme Weight Loss
oh,
with
yeah.
Chris Powell? Freaking loved that show. But they always lost it so quickly that their skin couldn't keep up, and because there's just different methods, right?
Yeah. No, and the older you get, the less, it naturally happens, so then you have to work
Yep.
harder at forcing your body to do that, so that's what fasting naturally does for people. And it was also
Yeah.
interesting in those studies too, they were saying that, like, in the 2 groups, they had, a group that fasted and a group that didn't fast, and they ate the same amount of calories.
Yep.
So
Exactly the same.
but one just ate it every, like, 2 or 3 hours, and then one fasted and then ate it, more in a shorter window. And the
Hmm.
people with the shorter window, I mean, with the fasting people lost weight, and they had their metabolism, like, um, rejuvenated, and, like, they had all sorts
Their
of benefits.
A1C was better, like
Yeah,
all of these things improved over time, right? And so that's very true. And I think that study was an 8-hour eating window. So it wasn't even like an extreme form of fasting.
yeah.
One group had an 8-hour eating window and the other one could eat the same amount of calories throughout the day whenever they wanted. And so, and then the group that fasted and only had an 8-hour eating window had markedly improved results. Like it was
So
crazy.
I feel like that's so powerful for people in general, even for our kids. Like I think about that
Yep.
as a mom, like
Yeah.
how I view food has changed with my kids after this book, because at first you're just like, oh, whenever you're hungry, I'll just feed you and I'll give you a snack and, maybe you're hungry. But then
Yep.
really after reading the book, like there's only so many hours that you really want them to eat. And then you don't want them to, because if their
Yeah.
insulin keeps going all the time, then they never get that recovery time.
Oh, and it turns out that this is what we're finding out, is that it impacts sleep. So like
Oh
my
yeah.
son is incredibly active. Like he plays a bunch of different sports. He never stops moving. I mean, Larissa can account for this. The kid never stops moving. So he pretty much constantly eats because his metabolism is just revving. That kid needs to be fed constantly so that he'll grow. But we were finding that he was getting really terrible sleep. Like he was waking up cranky, tired, and just not sleeping well. So we started to research why that might be. And like all these studies are coming out showing that eating right before bed actually affects your sleep cycle. So you may not get the deep sleep that you need for body repair and let alone REM sleep. And so we were like, we're letting him eat clear up until like 9:30, 10 at night when he's going to sleep. So he's spiking his blood sugar right before he goes to sleep with all of his little snacks. So then we're like, also the type of food he's eating, right? Because there are foods that are going to keep your glucose pretty steady, and then there are foods that are going to spike it extreme, like
Yeah.
little almond almond sugar butter crackers, right? Versus a protein option like string cheese or I don't know, meat or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Or an avocado.
Yeah, well, I mean, then that's a fat option, but specifically protein before bed was supposed to really help your brain and your body with your sleep cycles. So we've actually been trying that with our kids, and it seems to be doing better. They're sleeping way better when we are like, we're not really making our kids fast because they're in a different phase of life than
Yeah.
adults, right? They're still
Yeah.
growing and things, but we're definitely not letting them eat right up until bedtime because it's unnecessary. Like no other country in the world does that, I don't think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it does really seem to be making a big difference.
I know. And with my kids, when they say they're not hungry, then I just say, okay, I don't try to
Yep.
force them to eat. You know what I mean? Unless it's been
Me
like,
too.
then I'm like, no. Like, but as long as I give
Yeah,
them the 3 meals a day, then I'm like, okay, after that, you can listen to your body.
exactly. It has changed my perspective with kids and with everyone around me. Like I feel like the culture has for a long time was just to push food and push food socially
Mhm.
even, right? And now I'm like, if you're not hungry, that's cool. We can sit down together while somebody eats and not everybody has to eat, right?
But I'm going to go on a tangent. When you were fasting, didn't you find that people were really offended if you did not eat? Like if it was outside
Yeah.
your fasting window and like you went to an event, right? And
Yep.
you're like, oh, you were still there socializing or whatever the event is, but you didn't eat. They thought something was wrong with you. And they almost took it personally that you were not eating. And I'm like, I'm still here. I'm still socializing. Why can I not just sit here and enjoy the company? Isn't that funny?
Absolutely. It was something that took a little while to get used to because you were so used to it being a bonding experience with friends, family, everyone around you. And then you had to learn how to redefine how to bond with people and that it didn't have to include food,
Yeah.
which was a really big deal.
Well, no, but it's like even if it does include food and you can sit there and be okay with it, but the people you're with,
Makes them uncomfortable.
yeah, it makes
Yes.
them uncomfortable that you're sitting there
You
and
know
still
what?
able to talk and not
It's
eat.
the same way with alcohol too, though. I feel like it's such a culture of
Oh,
like, for people, who drink that to drink. And if you're not, it's weird. It's the same exact thing, but it all relates to fasting, right? Where you're like, I'm not doing that right now. I'm just not. This isn't my time. People are
yeah.
like, what? Like, okay.
You're like, "This is awkward." No, it's not
Yeah.
awkward. You do
You're like,
you,
no,
bro.
it's not. I'm still here socializing with you.
I still appreciate you.
Yeah. Yep. It
Yeah,
did take some getting used to. Then I think over the years, it's become a lot more mainstream and people are
yeah,
a lot more flexible about it these
yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah, I enjoy it, but I do think that our society, all of our events focus around food
Yeah.
or
And I
alcohol.
love food, so I get it because, like,
Yeah,
I'm a huge foodie. Like,
me too.
our other sister was just in town visiting, and she introduced me to sourdough. Yes, people, I am joining the sourdough wagon. It's officially happening. I
No,
got my
you
own
mean
starter.
homemade sourdough is what you meant.
Yes. Like I got my own starter. I'm making sourdough. So we were making all these different kinds. I think we made like 4 different batches over the weekend or the week that she was here. And it was amazing. And I was like, I love food. We went and got local honey from the farmer's market and we made homemade bagels. And it was so amazing. I was like, I see why people love food, but
You can love
if you,
inside your windows.
you can love, exactly. There's nothing wrong with delaying it. And if you have it all the time, you're wrecking your body with that food that you love, and because it just interrupts all the processes,
That's another good point, is when you're eating all the time, you don't really savor it. You really don't
Yeah.
really enjoy it. I feel like when you start fasting, you really like, this is the best whatever, this is the best scoop of ice cream I've had in my entire life, or this is the best steak or whatever it is. I feel like the
Yeah.
quality of food, you want to eat really good quality, very specific things, and so it tastes well
Oh, it's so
versus
true.
just
Like,
like eating every 2 hours and eating whatever is available.
yeah, you just become a lot less discerning about what you eat when you're eating all the time. And then when you're fasting, you're like, look, I have a window, and that window is going to be full of things that I love.
Yeah.
So, and then I do think over time, you also are like, how do I feel? You start to notice how you feel when you eat them because
Yeah.
your regular homeostasis like state becomes a fasted state. And that really gives you a good gauge of where your body is. Scientifically speaking, also, fasting does help your body control your hunger and fullness hormones, like your hunger and satiety hormones called leptin and ghrelin. I did a ton of research on this. So when you're eating all the time and you're eating hyper processed foods and things like that, those hormones actually get out of whack. And then your body isn't correctly telling you when you're full or like when you're satisfied, and it's actually over telling you when you're hungry. That's a very common thing to happen. Like, so you feel more hungry the more you eat because your hormones are not level. And so fasting can help you regulate those so that you actually have the right hunger and fullness cues again, which
Oh,
really
yeah.
helps with those things too, right?
I
Because
totally
then,
agree with them.
yeah, that then when your regular state of fasting, when what your body needs and what it doesn't, you have a better gauge on those things. But then it also heightens the things that you enjoy and also the things that make you feel better, which is a big thing.
And it highlights what makes you not feel better because you'll be
Yes.
really excited. You're like, "Oh, if you break a fast and then you eat like, I don't know, like a Twinkie or a Twix or some
Oh
kind of candy,
yeah.
and
Yep.
you're like, "Oh, I don't feel good." It's crazy how that breaking with not healthy food makes you feel like doo-doo.
Yeah, you feel like crap. You're like,
Yeah,
I actually have to lay down after eating that.
yeah.
Like that is
So
how
you get
bad.
really attuned to your body, and it actually
Yeah.
helps you navigate what is good for your body and what is not. And you're like, that is gonna make me feel crappy, so I'm not gonna eat that. Like, I'd way rather have nuts or fruit or veggies or
Yeah.
it is
For real.
interesting. Yeah.
What that you also enjoy. You're like, I also enjoy these things. That's always, and that's kind of the method that I use now after fasting for so many years is a lot of times I'm like, I want to eat. I'm hungry. I want to eat something I enjoy. And I'm like, okay, so I can think of 3 things that I like. Which one sounds good, but is also the best one for me? I might want to, the kids are eating pizza for dinner and I might want to have a slice of the pizza. I'm like, but also a caprese salad sounds amazing, but that's healthier for me. I'm going to get more nutrition out of that. So if they both sound good, why not air for the one that's going to make me feel better? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it helps a ton. That's helped me since all the like losing the baby weight with cold plunging and everything, where I've lost like 45 pounds, 46 pounds. That's helped me keep it off. Just that
Mhm.
method of, okay, I really want a donut. I just want a glazed donut. And I'm like, what else sounds good that would be satisfying but isn't a donut? And then I'd be
Yeah.
like, well, actually, I have this trail mix that has crystallized pineapple and mango or papaya in it. And I love that trail mix. I'm like, this is still a treat, but it's not a donut. So then I have the trail mix, right?
Yeah, well, and then you won't have the negative side effects after eating it as much. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
But I'm still getting a sweet treat. So then I also love fruit. So I'm like, oh, I could just buy a fresh mango. And mango is like candy, man. That stuff's delicious.
Or mango is good, and it's so good for you. There's so many health
I
benefits
know
in
so
mango.
many, so many health benefits that we could talk about. But anyway, total side tangent. But it is interesting the way all of that interrelates when you're just trying to. I feel like that concept really helped me with incorporating other like wellness hacks, right? Is like the
Mhm.
concept of like knowing myself better, like, and feeling like I'm more balanced. Like intermittent fasting really put me in knowing myself better and like doing that detective work on what works for me, that like I use that in other biohacks now. And that's really been hugely successful and helpful.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like this is like as a lot of people say it's, "Oh, that's a diet fad." I don't think that fasting or intermittent fasting is a fad. I think it's a lifestyle because once
Yeah.
you really are on it long enough to see the benefits of it, it just makes your life so much simpler. You automatically eat less, you crave less bad things for you, your body's feeling better, your body's recovering. Like you don't have your insulin
Mhm.
spikes and crashes as much. It's much more consistent.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's crazy. So the biggest reason why I got into it is because I was having such bad inflammation. Like I
mm,
was 30, I had a new baby, and I feel like my diet and exercise was all over the place. And I would wake up in the morning and my ankles and my feet and all my joints just hurt. They hurt really bad. And the only way I would get up and get going in the morning is I would get up and take ibuprofen just to be able to walk around without joint pain. And the more research I did, I was like, this is inflammation. Like I'm just having really bad inflammation. And so then when I read the article about intermittent fasting and I talked to my doctor and I started it, it was the first thing I noticed was just inflammation reduction. That's one of the biggest perks of intermittent fasting. So a lot of times when I go off a plan, I go on vacation and I eat all the bad things and I'm on the airplane and I eat potato chips and all the things that make me puffy. The first thing that I do to get myself back on track is a fast because it just resets everything. It's like a reset button. It's amazing.
yeah. I definitely feel depuffy when I
Yes, that's our coined phrase,
yeah,
depuffy.
that's the official science word for inflammation, is depuffy. And I
Yep.
I like that. I like that it naturally does that, and it just makes you really realize how inflamed you were.
Yeah. Well, it gives you
And
control over your body again, right? Because that
yes,
was what was so frustrating
yes.
is that I just felt like I had no control over what was happening with my body
Mhm,
and intermittent fasting on top of being so customizable and
mhm.
huge cost savings. Like we're not even talking about, oh, this is low cost. Guys, this is going to save you money. I mean,
So much money.
need I
And
say more?
And so much time, like, because then
Yep.
you're not, like, sitting here thinking about, like, "What am I gonna eat?" Like, I mean, actually, I take that back, like, I do love to think about what I'm gonna eat when I break my fast, but it's in a
Yep.
different way. Like, you're only doing it, like, once instead of, like or, like, a smaller amounts versus, like, all
All the
the
time.
time. And so it
Yes.
frees up your mind space, you're allowed to think about other things, and it's just very realistic, down to earth, that all of a sudden you get more time for your life, for things that you wanna work on, and it
Oh,
gives you
it is
mental
very freeing in
clarity.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you just don't spend all of your time feeling chained to food. You
Yes.
know that like because like one time I was doing a trip to see my in-laws and it was like a 3-hour flight. I was going by myself with a couple with multiple kids who were at toddler age and I was really nervous about flying by myself, navigating the airport, car seats, strollers, like all the stuff single-handedly. And the one thing that I really had in my back pocket is I was like, you know what? I'm fasting already. I'm just going to keep fasting. And then I don't have to worry about feeding myself. I can just focus on the kids and getting through all these other things. And it was the best trip we had because it wasn't like an additional stressor. It was actually a stress saver because I was busy. So I wasn't thinking about food.
Yeah.
And then I was already in a fasted state. So I wasn't stressing. My body wasn't feeling stressed about food. I
Yeah.
fasted for 36 hours on that trip because I got there
Wow.
and I was like, I could eat and go to bed, or I could just eat in the morning. And so that to date is my longest fast so far. I did 36 hours. I woke up the next day and I wasn't even hungry. I was like feeling fantastic. And I was like, well, I guess I should eat.
I think that is something I also didn't see coming, is that when you get in a rhythm, like, it becomes very easy, and you almost feel uncomfortably full when you eat more.
Yeah. Like
'Cause then
it's
it's
an
like, "Oh, I
encumbrance.
don't need that," 'cause it's like and you're still getting enough calories in, so, I mean, I'm definitely an eater like you, Mallory, so, like, I love my
Yeah.
food, but
Yep.
at the same time, like, I don't have to the stress and the pressure of doing a diet and measuring this and counting this and doing all that, like, I don't really have to worry about that. I just more of like, "Okay, what feels" like what you were saying, "What do I
Yep.
feel like? What sounds good to me right now?" Because I want something
Yep.
super savory, and I wanna enjoy it because it's gonna hold
Yeah, it's
me over.
like then you're just trying to marry flavor with nutrition, and you're
Yeah.
really not thinking about anything else. Whereas I used
Yeah.
to count the calories and what are the macros and what are all these things. And now I'm like, okay, I know what I want to focus on for my nutrition, but it's in a very lazy way, right?
Yeah.
Like, because we did keto for years, and I was like, man, having to count carbs to the point where it was, I need to be less than 20 grams was painful. And now I'm like, I know the types of foods that make me feel good, and I do feel better on lower carb foods, but I
Yeah.
don't count them. I just generally pick lower carb foods that I enjoy that give me reward while also being nutritious for me. And it's been great.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Intermittent fasting has done that for me. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. I love it. I love it. Whenever I feel like Jen Stevenson in her book, she always says you have to have like honesty pants. So like you have to like put your honesty pants on every so often just to keep yourself in check, like, you know, with your eating window, like if you're splurging too much. So it's pretty funny. So I love that. It makes me think about that.
I do like that. And a plug to Jen Stevens, because I listened to her podcast for years, and I think I introduced you to it, which is the Intermittent Fasting Stories. And I love it because it's just bringing people on from her community for them to just tell their story about how intermittent fasting affected their life, like what their struggles were. And it's just everyday people like you and me. And I always love to hear, and I gleaned so much from hearing so many different people's experiences with it and how they were their own detective to figure out what worked for them, right?
And it was all over the world. So people all over the world. And just like what you said, the little tweaks that they did to make it work for them, because everybody's different. So like what works for me doesn't work for you. Like everybody has to kind of find their own, navigate their own like sweet spot. Like what is your sweet spot, you know, and how it is going, you know? And so it's interesting. But yes, I love her. She has you joined the community. She has a private community too, right?
The Delay Don't Deny community. Yeah.
And then
it's really awesome.
She has a podcast where you can listen to just everyday people around the world and their experience. And some of them are so interesting. Like some of them, after fasting for years, like their eyesight improved. They had their allergies, like their seasonal allergies completely went away. Like it was interesting, like some of the side effects that happened. Like some of them had their like skin tags completely like fall off.
Yeah. Well, and then like so many of them had body recomposition, which is where you don't necessarily, that's a big thing in intermittent fasting that we have both seen, but also like we've heard about so much in the community of intermittent fasters. But like a lot of times you may not see, there were so many stories of people who didn't really see a big change on the scale, but their clothing sizes and just their general appearance and pictures changed a lot. Like it was crazy. And it's really just because the benefit, the process of autophagy is really just your body stops focusing on food digestion, right? And switches gears to, hey, like we are not all on shift. Like think of it like a restaurant, right? Like when you have the dinner rush, you're not really focusing on like washing dishes and restocking supplies or like cleaning up, you know, debris or sweeping the floor or anything like that, right? You're focused on serving the food. You're prepping the food, you're serving it, you're cleaning up as much as you need to feed the next person. And really that's how your body's operating when you're constantly eating. And so then the process of fasting is like, okay, the dinner rush is over, like let's restock, let's wipe down, let's take the garbage out, right? And so that's what your body's doing with your cells internally. And so it just, and so that's what we all need that historically mankind had, right? Hunters, gatherers, farmers, like you were out working, like you only ate 3 meals a day and that was it, you know? And so
historically they only usually ate 1 meal a day.
Yeah. Well, in early days, right? You ate when you could get food. So then we ate a lot and then you didn't eat for a long time until you could hunt or gather more food, right? But we don't have that anymore. Food is constantly available. It's actually the opposite problem where there's too much food available and a lot of it's poisoning us. So
and it's so processed and it's so not good for your body that it's like killing your understanding of, oh, I am full. No, your body's all out of whack. Which is where gut comes from and like all of those side effects.
Exactly. And so it's really like intermittent fasting is such a huge tool because between the autophagy and the body recomposition, just the act of fasting, like your body pulls fat from places and stores it in other, and it usually improves your body shape overall because you're overall a healthier individual. So,
and I'm going to segue into questions from our community because I feel like this is a good time to bring this in.
And we could talk all day about this. So
one of the questions somebody said was, does IF work differently for women, especially with periods? And so I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that because it kind of goes into like the timing of your cycle and
Yeah, like cycle syncing is still greatly applicable to this.
Yeah.
And historically, that's not anything I ever thought about. But I do think naturally the concept that we always abided by, that I'm still going to give as a tip here, is you really have to be your own detective and listen to your own body. And the same works with your cycle. When you're in your follicular phase and it's the first 2 weeks coming out of your period, you're going to be able to hit things harder and you're going to feel more up to hitting things harder. So you're going to fast longer. But like when you get to your luteal phase, like it's going to be different. You're probably not going to fast as long. You really have to listen to your body. You're going to be more insulin sensitive. You're going to be, and so you really have to, based on the research that we've done, kind of adjust and be a little gentler on yourself in those times. And especially the week of your period, right? It's going to be taking it real easy. And so I wish I would have thought about that years ago, because I feel like
No,
I
I
just
didn't
pushed
either.
myself too hard, right?
I agree. And because I like the Jen Susan says in all of her platforms that you just got to really give yourself grace and just do what your body needs. And if you feel like opening your window early today for whatever reason, just do it. And that's the best part about intermittent fasting.
Yep.
Is you literally, it's not a one size fits all. And you actually don't want to do the same thing every day. You don't want to do a like 19-5 or 24 every single day, because then you
Yep.
get your metabolism gets accustomed to that, and then it goes on vacation mode, and you don't ever
Yep.
want that to go on vacation mode. So you want to keep it alive and active. So you have to constantly, a lot of people shift with the amount of food they eat from day to day. So you might have a light day but you can also shift with your window and change
Yep.
it. And so it could be like a 5-hour day one day, and then it could be
I
6-hour
can't.
day,
Well, and that's the
4 day.
beautiful thing, though. It's flexibility. Like
Yeah.
things are crazy. You need to eat earlier. Eat earlier. It's all going to even out, right? You might end up having a 20-hour fast just because when you're eating windows work for you is when they work for you, right? But you have the ability to do that without it being majorly detrimental, which is amazing.
On her podcast, one of her community members that called in was saying, she's like, I literally have a 3-hour window. So she only has one meal a day. She's like, but I have no idea what time it is every day, because it all depends on what is going on.
Oh,
And I was like, oh
yeah,
man, that was interesting. So it's like every single day,
that's
if
crazy.
like if I have an event in the morning, I'll go and have a big breakfast, and then that'll be my meal for the day. If I have it,
Yeah,
and I was like, I thought that was interesting. I
that
think
is. That's crazy.
I'm a little more structured than that. Like that would drive me nuts. But it
Yeah.
was interesting though how that worked for her, and so she had done it for years, and so I was like, oh, that's great. She's like, but if I go to a party at night, like I'll just fast, like I'll just know that that's my window, is that night that day. I was like,
Yeah. That is
interesting,
so
huh?
cool. That
I
is really
know.
interesting. Okay, our next question.
Okay.
Can women do intermittent fasting without going into fight or flight mode?
Yes. So, I feel like this goes back to what you were saying about knowing your own body, because a lot of times, like especially once you get into a rhythm of it, like, and you naturally are eating better and all that stuff, like it's not a fight or flight. It's just more of like comfort, really. But,
Yeah.
with Dr. Stacey Sims and a couple of the doctors, especially about new research for women, like
Yeah.
and even Jen Stevenson in the book, she says like the best, really ideal scientifically eating time to have your eating window would be in the morning, because then you can start your day off with all the energy, and then you use it throughout the day, and then you go to sleep and you have the autophagy and all the
Right. And better cortisol management, right?
and cortisol management, and then it comes
Yep.
back up, and then you eat again. So ideally, it would be ideal to be in the morning, but our society doesn't lend that to us. A lot of us want to have dinner with our families, and functions are at night, and they all usually revolve around food. So you can shift and just adjust that around. But I felt calmer than I've ever felt when I'm fasting.
Yeah. That's very true. I think it really comes back to this concept that a lot of people were probably like me, where they're like, if I don't eat every few hours, I'll die. Like
Uh,
I could make it, I'll get sick, or like my body can't handle it. Well, I'll starve to death, right? Like that's been pushed on us so much that we need to eat 6 meals a day or whatever, right? And so I think that really the idea is you can go long periods of time without eating. Your body's not going to go into starvation mode. It just has to deplete its glycogen stores and switch over to fat burning mode, right? And that takes a certain period of time, which is why they recommend that you fast at least 16 hours, because that's when you start to see those benefits, right? But that doesn't mean that there's not benefits in fasting less. And so when I started, I was like, I'm just going to skip breakfast and see how I feel. I was really afraid I was going to have like a blood sugar crash, right? Like my body would go into that flight mode, that
um,
like and but I did okay. I was like, oh, that actually wasn't bad. I ate at 12 and I was like, normally I have breakfast at like 8 or 9 and I went till noon and I felt fine. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just see how far I can go before it stresses my body out. So then the way that I tiptoed into intermittent fasting was really listen to my body. When it says, hey, no, you got to eat, then you eat. The point is just to see how far you can go. And even one of my amazing thought leaders, like coaches, was it's called the Life Coach School, is her podcast. And she was like, just go as long as you can from dinner, from when you finish dinner and you have breakfast the next morning. Just go as long as you can. And it was such a gentle way to start it without overstressing your body, which would put you in the fight or flight mode, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and when I talk about fasting with other people, then they're like, oh, I'm so hungry. And I'm like, really look at what you're eating. Because if you're eating a protein, then it like fills you up and it sustains you for a lot longer. But if you're just eating chips, if you fill a window with chips and carbs, just basic food that has a lot of sugar in it, it's going to go through you and you're going to be craving it like nothing else. You're just going to want to
nutrient density, right? Like there's calorie density and then there's nutrient density. And if you're eating empty calories, you're right. You're going to be feeling terrible and starving.
Because sugar is a drug. So it's going to make you addicted. And so as soon as you eat that sugar, it's just going to make you want to eat more and eat more and eat more and stuff. And so as much as I love pasta and bread and all this stuff, it's like the more you eat it, the more you crave it. And so when you really want to look at the health benefits, you really want to make sure your food is nutrient dense and very healthy for you, because it's much easier to fast when you have a secure base in your in however many meals you have in the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going back to one meal a day, but you don't have to do that.
Yep. Okay, one more question. Is IF just for weight loss or real health benefits? I love this question, first of all, because I did look for this for weight loss, trying to lose baby weight, but also for inflammation reduction, because I was so miserable being so puffy and having my joints hurt so much and all these problems that it led me to intermittent fasting. And it turns out that there's probably more benefits for your health than there is for weight loss, right? So many more. Like this is more for overall health and longevity than it is for weight loss. It just also can help with weight loss if that's your goal. But like there's it's so complicated. Weight loss is so complicated.
And your hormones, it helps with keeping your hormones balanced. Like there's so many like side effects you don't think about when you go into it. Because most people do go into it for weight loss. But then once you start and you really stick to it for, how long do you think you'd have to stick to it before you really see some benefits?
I mean, it depends on what the problem is. Like with inflammation, a matter of days. When it comes to like other benefits, I mean, maybe a couple months.
I was just going to say that. I was like, I feel like 3 months, I was just like, I will do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, agreed. Like it just is a tool I will always use. And all the studies that show that people who eat less, like 70% of, like what the typical diet is of, that culture, live longer, right? And so just the whole concept of just constantly day by day, it's like taking a multivitamin. Every day that you're taking better care of your body, it's going to do better. And again, intermittent fasting has way more benefits for your health than it does for your ability to lose weight. Some people do intermittent fasting and never lose weight. Like it just depends.
And then they just have body recomposition. So their body shifts because of the autophagy. And then what is it? Visceral fat, and it ate the visceral fat around the organ. So their body shifted and changed, which is super cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. You just can't go wrong. So, okay. So before we end today, what are some beginner tips that you would give and resources you would provide? Obviously, delay, don't deny, but what else?
Jen Stevens, I would actually tell them to read Jen Stevenson's Fast, Feast, and Repeat, because it has a 28-day start in there. And it
it's in there.
Yeah, it's in the book, and it literally like breaks it down like blow by blow. So like I would actually recommend reading that book first, because it has
Fast, Feast, Repeat. Okay.
Yes. And it actually has like the 28-day start. It has everything there, and it will walk you through every step, and it will have like all the questions, like I'm feeling this way, like it has all of the, I don't want to say book for dummies, but like for starters, for beginners. It's a beginner's book for sure. And then that's my number one thing, is to definitely read or listen to that. Because I do love my audiobooks. And then I would say what you said, listen to your body and set your goal. But don't make it so extreme. Like I wouldn't start, I would start slow.
Yeah, you jumped in. Don't do what Larissa did.
I mean, unless that's the type of personality you are, then go for
Yeah.
it. But don't feel like you have to do that. You can start slow and slowly ease your body into it, because you might, if you're really have a high carb diet, you're going to have withdrawals. So you're going to have to slowly
Yep.
like,
Well, that's
like,
how what I did, right? I did the slow start, but also I was on a very, very unhealthy diet. Like it was all over the place. I had a lot of wine in it. So, like starting out slow made sense. But again, though, I think that when you did your 20 hours, when you jumped right in, if you had felt terrible earlier, you would have eaten. Like you wouldn't have gone the 20 hours,
yeah.
right? You just felt good. And so like when you go with how you're feeling, like listening to yourself, right? That's it. Know your body, own your health. It's always going to be applicable, guys. So
Yeah, literally. It's a basic. And my next advice would be to do it clean, because that will get rid of
yes.
your hunger pains. If you are not doing a clean fast, if you're putting creamer in your coffee, you will not be able to fast. You'll
It's
immediately
not
you'll
fasting. If you're
no.
putting creamer in your in your coffee, it's not a fast. There's calories in that, right?
Yeah.
But the where it gets tricky is diet sodas, because it's
Yeah. Zero
zero
calories.
calorie but artificially sweetened. And so that's a gray area. People have lost weight doing that, but it's harder. It's a harder fast when you have those in your diet.
Yeah, because if your body sees that as food, it spikes your insulin, and your insulin is what makes you eat.
Yep.
So, like you again, know your body. Everybody's different, but I would
Yep. Do your
steer
thing, but
clear.
we would both recommend,
Yeah,
when you're in your fasting window, like I do iced black coffee and water, sparkling water, and the Baja Gold mineral salt is really what I do.
and I love the teas. Like I
Mm,
love like just the
the
and
bitter profile teas, not
yeah,
sweet
bitter,
teas.
yeah, and it
Yep.
can't be flavored. Yeah,
Right.
it can't be flavored. It's got to just be like straight from the leaf type tea,
Yeah, like green tea, straight up green tea
black
or
tea.
black tea. Yep. I love tea. No, I'm the same way. It's exactly the same. I usually do coffee because it's convenient and I rarely have time, but when I can brew a cup of tea, I do.
Well, what's funny is because I'm very caffeine sensitive, so coffee's never been my jam. But when I am fasting, I do like it because that bitter taste of the coffee takes away your hunger pains.
Yeah, it does. It really helps.
And I got like carbonated soda, whatever.
Oh, the Soda Stream
Yeah, the
sort
soda
of thing.
stream.
Yeah.
And I love that because then I love bubbly water. So like I can put water in there, I put my mineral salt in there, and then I'll
Made
bubble
your own
more.
sparkling water. It's
Mhm.
great.
Because it makes me feel full. The bubbles make me feel full,
Me
even
too.
though I'm not. So that's also a little hack that's helped me.
Yeah, I agree. I would say the same. Delay, Don't Deny, or Fast, Feast, Repeat. I did enjoy both of those reads. We're not going to recreate the wheel. She has done a fantastic job. Go
Yeah.
read or listen to those books. If you want to read the Obesity Code as well, that one's a fantastic read. That's another resource.
It's just
Um,
very science heavy. So you have to be prepared
yes.
for whereas Jen breaks it up with some basic talk in there.
Everyday talk. Yeah, right. She's not a doctor, just like
Yeah.
us, right? We just want to make this more
Yeah.
approachable.
Dr. Fung is straight up science.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I was really happy when I found Delay Don't Deny. I was like, thank you. But it was still a very educational read. And
Yeah.
I think then as far as advice goes, like really it is just start small. The thing that I have
Mhm.
learned, because I started at 30 and now, I'm in my late 30s, is that over time your needs do change, and really listening to yourself. Like I don't fast as extreme as I used to. Like right now we're doing this Misogi extreme fast for other benefits, but like as far as day-to-day health benefits, like I've actually moved to a longer eating window, because I find that I feel better because I'm having energy issues and I feel like I was fasting too hardcore and stressing my body too much.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how it's changed, but really it's just being my own detective and taking responsibility for how I feel and adjusting and trying new things, right? Just don't be afraid to, especially at the beginning, try things out and see what works for you.
And if you get stuck in a rut, change it up. Like
Yep.
I think it would be interesting to do now that we've done this Misogi. Well, we haven't finished it, but I mean, like now we're 24
Wing
in.
it. Yes.
Then I could totally see myself doing like a down day and an up day where I fast for 24 hours and then
Yeah.
I just have a regular, 3
Like an
meals a day the
alternate
next
day
day.
fasting is what
And
they
that,
call it,
yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
so and then the next day you have it, your down day and then up day. And so that never appealed to me until now. And I'm like, this would be easy. Because on a day, you're
Yeah.
going to be super busy, just do that, It's anyway. So I might try that out next.
I'm really interested in trying out the 24-hour fast, like the 5-2, like Dr. Jason Fung recommends, for the anti-aging benefits, actually, is what I'm interested in. Because when you're doing 2 24-hour fasts in a week, you're really getting your peak autophagy. And so then it's helping with like skin repair and stuff like that.
Do you have to do it back to back?
Nope, it's just 2 days. You just pick 2 days in a week. So I might start with like 1 a week and then build up to 2 a week, right? We'll see how I feel after this. So after doing a 72-hour fast, like we might be ready to just jump into something else because we've primed our body for it, right? Because once your body gets fat adapted and gets used to switching over to using fat stores, it becomes easier over time. So,
and so then when it's the 5 days, like you can just eat whenever, like there's no fasting in those 5 days. So whenever.
Yeah, you just eat whenever, because eating breakfast has actually been helping me. I've switched to eating earlier, but then you know how it gets, the social norm of eating dinners, it makes sometimes my eating windows are like 10 hours. And I just feel like I've just gotten really loosey-goosey about it. And so I really I'm like, maybe if I did a 24-hour fast a week or 2, it would help me counteract that and still have flexibility, right? It's just trying something new because I've been doing this for so long. Like I feel like I need to switch up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I would like that.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that next time. We're going to talk about all the tweaks and methods and more complicated versions of fasting. So
yeah, there's a lot to fasting. That's why it's fun. You got to try it.
Yep, absolutely. And we will catch you guys next time. All right, you wellness rock stars. That's a wrap on this episode of My Wellness Rewired, Hacking Women's Health. We've had a blast dishing out the hacks and laughs, but hold up, let's keep it real.
Yep, we are not doctors. We are just sharing our biohacking adventures and learning right alongside you. Nothing we say is medical advice, so always, always check with your healthcare provider before trying any new wellness tricks.
Absolutely. This podcast is all about inspiration and entertainment, not prescriptions. So join our Facebook group for more sassy wellness vibes. Catch you next time.